there was a young man from Devices whose bollocks were two different sizes. One weighed a pound and dragged on the ground, and the other's as big as a fly's is.
It's horrible.
Can I just add to that?
Yes,
You missed a whole opportunity there.
I did.
And the other one is as big as Liza's.
Oh God.
Liza's third testicle.
That's personal. Austin,
E.T.
it's always so nice seeing you, darling.
Oh,
I feel
thank you,
we've
Emma.
been deprived of one another's company for so long.
Thank you.
And,
Good to see everyone.
Can we leave your bags around the back of your booth, please?
Yeah. Of course. Next time we
Wait,
see
what? Does my head fit in there?
I'm crushing
looks
your
good.
head. You remember the kids in the hall? I'm crushing your head, crushing your head.
Hey there, welcome to Motorcycles and Misfits. Coming to you from the Recycle Garage in, everyone together? Sunny Santa Cruz.
But
There we
I think
but
you're a
it's
different Santa Cruz
not.
than I'm in.
It's not.
And normally, sunny Santa Cruz.
Normally.
We got to spell it.
It's about to be gully washer Santa Cruz here in a little bit.
Yeah.
All week.
Ooh, and a sec. Yeah, well, we'll get to who's in the garage, but then, Emma, should I tell about the little drama that happened here with the rain cover?
What? Yes.
Yes, I'll get to that. Well, let's get to who's in the garage today, the virtual garage. Hey, everyone, this is Liza, and coming to us from the warmth of her office, it's Miss Emma.
Hello, darlings. Here I am. I'm in rainy Marina, California, USA. And it's a wonderful evening. I'm thrilled to be here.
I'm actually tired. We had a good long day today.
Yes, it was. It's always tiring with you, Liza.
I'm tired. I watched you do everything, and that just tired me.
Well, Liza, I was very, very good today. I tried to do as little as possible, and I directed a young man to repair his own bike. And, I think it turned out quite well.
Sounds familiar.
I think so, too. Well, let's get to our own. You know what? I'm trying to figure out which one of you looks most like a cartoon character. It might be this next guy. It's Rick.
Hey, I'm a cartoon character. I'll take it.
But no, hang on, Rick. Hang on, because this isn't an unrated show. You are a cartoon. And I
Like
have
Fritz
got
the
the
cat.
proof. No,
Thank you.
he's
Well said.
He's got a cartoon of him done by his delightful girlfriend.
Oh.
That is actually
Oh,
a
do I-
sticker.
Is that?
And you do sound the most like a Cartoon Network character, I have to say.
I'll take it. Yeah, I feel free for voiceover work. I'll be available. You can get a hold of me at I am Rick.
Things have been a little quiet since Ren and Stimpy.
Oh man, don't you miss it when cartoons were outlandish and like on 11 all the time?
Mm-hmm.
I used to enjoy Dexter's Lab.
Yeah, I thought that was
Because
a good
he
one.
had this sort of weird East European generic accent, which you could never place. I mean,
Not so
where was
specific.
Dexter from? He just had that sort of scientist accent.
And then normally in his shed, but not. Maybe because he wants to be warm. It's Naked Jim.
That's part of it. It snuck up on me too. Hey, what's up, everybody? Stay safe a little bit longer. But check out, this is the art. I was going to use this as my background.
That's
Oh,
cool.
what?
Oh,
Isn't that bitchin'?
Oh, yeah, that is cool. Like a board track racer?
Something like that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that is cool.
the skeleton.
All right. And of course, it's everyone's favorite ginger. It's Bagel.
Greetings from cold and wet Oregon. Just to let you all know, amor vincit omnia.
What?
Hey?
Yeah.
Love conquers all.
Oh.
Okay.
Wait.
Is that why you're in Oregon?
Well, it's not the only reason why, but I'm
Wait. Did you find love, Bagel?
maybe.
Ooh.
Oh, he's got that glow.
He's got that smile.
He either bought a new bike
No.
or
It's the smile of a sucker, one way or another. No, it looks
Ba-
good
no,
on you.
we need to explore this a little bit, Bagel. Did you fall in love, darling?
I have, yes.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Yes.
Wait,
Yes.
we still have to establish, is it a bike or a person?
It is a woman.
Oh, even better.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Congratulations, Bagler.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I met someone recently, and we've hit it off very, very well. And yeah, she is absolutely delightful.
Well, of course, I
And,
wouldn't expect you to be somebody who wanted to murder you in your bed, darling.
Oh, of course not. Quite the opposite.
That's fantastic. Oh, well done, you.
Good.
Thank you.
I'm absolutely thrilled for you.
My thanks.
I
thrilled
should
too.
start selling your scooters now to afford an engagement ring.
I got to get him running first.
Good-o.
Nice. Well, and you guys know the unofficial rule here on the Motorcycles and Misfits podcast. First time you're on the show, you're a guest. Second time, you're a returning guest. Third time, you're a misfit. So I think it is official now.
It
Joining
might be
us,
4. It might be 4. I
it's
don't know. how many-
Austin. Hey, Austin, how are you?
Hey, great. How are you, Liza? Good to be here.
Good
It
to
might be
see
my
you.
4th time. I have.
Might be. You're definitely a misfit by now.
Yeah, I know I am.
Yeah, so it's Austin Rothbard from twistedroad.com. You guys,
Yeah.
we have a long history going back with you. I remember when
Yeah.
it was just like an idea that I had heard about, just new concept. And anytime there's something new in the motorcycle community that I think is really brilliant, I'm in. I'm on board. Just like, I got my Quinn helmet coming, you guys. Got my new
Nice.
Quinn helmet, the new adventure helmet. Yeah, I can't wait to get it. And Twisted Road is up there too. I love the
Yeah,
idea,
thanks.
and I had my bikes up there for years.
Thanks. Yeah, it's going well. We're growing. It's been really nice. It's been quite a ride. I think the first time that I was there, we had just started, right, Liza? Or just
Yeah.
a few? Yeah, just started. And then I think I saw you like in February at the One Moto Show. We had probably only been live for like 2 months or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been 3 years now.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Oh,
So-
yeah. I believe it. And Liza's been a proponent of this from the very
Yeah.
beginning, kind of like the
Yeah.
Break Free Tech bike
Yeah.
helmets.
Jim, I was going to say, because when Liza talked about new technology, I was going to say the Break Free Tech it's so amazing. You guys should have him on the show. He's a great guy.
You don't know that Alex has been on the show earlier than you were.
Oh,
actually.
no, I didn't know that.
He came down to the garage with a little balsa wood model and like Velcro and rubber bands
Oh,
and showed his idea
Prototype.
to us.
that's cool.
So we've
That's
been
cool.
following it from the inception,
That's cool.
the early prototypes, everything. So yeah, so he's been on the show quite a few times as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, new technology I like.
That's
but
great.
if there's anyone out there who doesn't know what Twisted Road is, can you explain it?
Sure. We're a company that we let people rent each other's motorcycles. So if you have a bike in the garage that you're not riding, you can put it on our site and make some money every time somebody else needs a bike in your area and decides to rent it. So we are a lot like Airbnb, but instead of renting out somebody's house, you get to rent their bike.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
that simple.
nutshell. It's
And
that
I-
simple.
I've rented my bikes a bunch of times.
Yeah. It's there's some bikes that just get rented a lot, and yours are some of them. I mean, we have people who have told us that they've paid off their bikes and bought a second bike with the money they make from us.
Mine are not that popular, but it's enough. For years, it was enough to justify just keeping like my Versus around. That was just an extra bike, because the few rentals I got paid the expenses just to keep.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
And Santa Cruz doesn't get a lot of activity. It's just not as there's not as many. The demand's not as high as say Vegas or LA or some of our other bigger cities.
Yeah, we don't have an airport right here in town.
Right.
But there are people who want to go ride up and down the coast.
Totally.
And
Totally.
those are the people that I've gotten. I sold the Versus, so that came down, but I got the KLR.
Yeah, cool.
I'm considering putting more of my bikes up. I'll tell you the one issue I had with Twisted Road, which isn't your issue. The issue was every time I planned to go out of town, I got everything.
Ah,
I was like, damn it.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the thing is trying to arrange for neighbors to take care of the transaction,
Right.
somebody to be my proxy, or leaving keys and messages and swapping photos and doing all the things. That was the only issue. But it's been years, and I want to get a catch up. Where are things with you now?
Gosh,
Yeah.
things are good. We last year was a really good year. It was a record year for us. We grew a lot. At the beginning of COVID, we slowed down a bunch, but starting in March and April were slow, and then May picked up again, and we saw some real nice growth every month of the year. What else is new last year? I think we got our new insurance plan in place. We had one 2 years ago, but then in 2020, we added owner liability insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I don't know if I talked about this, but Liza, you've always asked me about it. Like, are we insuring the owner in any way? Now we are.
Mm-hmm.
So every ride, the owner is insured for up to $1 million of liability should anything happen.
Yeah, that's always been the number one question with people, is the insurance.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you need to it.
Yeah, I would say the biggest obstacle, just when I talk to a lot of people and talk about this whole concept, I think the biggest obstacle is people who think of their motorcycle as their baby, and there's no way, they would let their baby into someone else's hands,
Yeah, I get it. And I would never try to talk someone into it. We
Right.
Like, my house isn't on Airbnb. I don't want someone sleeping in my bed. So I can
Right.
understand it. I can totally understand it.
But for those who maybe have extra bikes or don't use theirs enough or want extra income,
Right.
then the next always question is, how does the insurance work?
And we insure bikes up to $40,000 in value. So if there's damage that's, a small drop to a full total, we'll take care of it. Nothing out of pocket for the owner for any of the damages. And there's really no risk to the owner of a bike. Put your bike on the site. If it gets rented, great, you make some money. If anything gets damaged, we fix it. And if you never get a rental because there's not enough demand on the type of bike you have, that's okay. You didn't lose anything. It doesn't cost anything to join.
Well, and I remind people, the main reason that I put my bikes up there wasn't because I needed the money. It's
Right.
because I wanted to be able to rent bikes when I travel.
Right.
And I don't expect everyone else to provide bikes for me without me providing bikes for them. It's
Right.
kind of
Very communal. Very communal.
Exactly. If you want to be a part in the system, for me, I'm going to be a part of the solution as well and
Right.
provide more bikes.
Right.
And this was at a time when you were still trying to fill in holes in the country.
Yeah, we're
Right.
all over the country now. We've got bikes everywhere. And we just started a big program in Illinois this past summer, and we're rolling it out to different parts of the country slowly. But we started signing dealers, and so dealers can put their used inventory on our site, and it's great for extended test rides. People go, they try a bike out, and maybe they decide they want to buy it. A bike is real personal,
Mhm.
and it feels different in a 20-minute test ride than it does if you have it for a few days. So,
And in fact, a friend of ours has signed up.
Ooh,
Phil. Right?
Philippe?
Nice.
Phil Cleveland Moto.
oh, Phil,
as a
right. Phil,
Yeah.
Phil. Oh, I'm like,
That's cool.
I'm missing something.
Yeah.
Phil at Cleveland Moto just signed up, and his bikes will be live soon. It's cold there, so we're not expecting any rentals to come through, but they will soon.
Right.
Here's the thing. Phil's a smart man, and
Smart guy.
he's going to make sure everything is in line,
Yeah.
and that he's not going to possibly lose out on anything or be a hit in any way, but
Right.
instead is providing opportunities. So for me, it seems like a win-win. And I know, and Emma and Rick, maybe you can comment on this. Back in the day, you used to be able to go anywhere and they'd hand you the keys and you go test ride a bike. And over the years, I saw that happen less and less and less.
I'm gonna back you up there a little bit.
Yeah.
It was never the case in Europe.
Okay.
It was a lot more free in America, but it got so bad. I mean, bikes right up until the late 90s when I worked at the original big dealership down in San Luis Obispo. I mean, bikes were coming back just absolutely destroyed from a single test ride. So, it's unsustainable. And it's always been a dealer thing. And this is important to differentiate. The manufacturers will let you register a bike as a demonstrator, but there's not that much money in it. It's always been a dealer thing. If you want to do it, the manufacturers won't really back you up. So there's no real incentive for it. This really opens the key now. It opens the door to decent length test rides.
Right.
Because this is a big commitment.
Yep.
If you want a decent entry level good sized bike, it's 10 grand.
Right.
And you can slice that and dice that any way you want, but 10 grand's a lot of change.
And you know what, Emma?
Anyway.
If we have a few of the Harley live wires on the site.
There you go, 30 grand.
And I've said to people, you might as well spend a couple $100 on an airline ticket, fly to either Tampa or the Bay Area or LA, and rent a $30,000 bike for a day or two to see if you like it before you spend that much money.
Right.
It's worth a $400 investment to see if it's
good. Yes.
Yeah.
And the test ride you're going to get from the dealership, considering, the bike on a live wire, yeah, they'll let you hop on it, but at that point, you've already given them all of your info,
Everything.
your blood type, your birth weight,
Everything.
your urine sample. Yeah, totally.
We do a lot of checks before people get on the bike. So Emma was talking about bikes that come back just damaged and trashed. There are a lot of checks that people go through before they got on a bike. So our claims rate's really, really low.
Awesome.
And then the last step that we do before we give you the keys is we take a $1,000 credit card hold. And that just stops some people. And quite frankly, the people it stops are typically the people with the highest risk.
Right. And that's the point I wanted to make because, as soon as you talk about bikes from a dealership and getting damaged, it's very different through hiring through somebody like Twisted Road.
Right.
So you're basically renting through Twisted Road, and there's contract, and as you say, there's a deposit, which is the same as whenever you hire any vehicle.
Right.
It's
our job. It's our job.
Right.
Our job is verify and build trust, and the dealers is to sell bikes, and they're different jobs.
It's a different job, and there's the world of difference between writing a contract with Twisted Road for renting a bike and a dealer back in the old days just throwing somebody the key and saying take it away.
Yeah.
And so I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Thanks.
More power to you.
It's going great. It's going really well.
So
as it should.
I just want to give an opportunity. Do you want to throw out some names of some dealers in the cities that have signed up and done this?
Yeah, sure.
Let's give some plugs out to them.
Okay, so just about almost every Harley dealer in Chicago, Illinois. There's a dozen Chicago and some Milwaukee dealers that are all Harleys. We have Windy City International Triumph and Woodstock KTM, which are also in the Chicago area. We've got Texas Motorsports, which is north of Austin. And we have Destination Cycles, which is out in the hill country. Great places to ride. Major Power Sports in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cleveland Moto is coming on.
Nice.
It's a nice little sample.
Maybe we can get somebody up in Northern California to sign up.
I hope so. Hey, do you remember you told me to get in touch with a gentleman, Matt?
Yep.
Well, he and I have spoken, and he's been really good. So hopefully he can help us connect with some of those dealers in Northern California.
Yeah, I hope that works out. So, okay. And I hit you with this every time. So just get ready. I'm going to wallop you again. Let's see if anything has changed. Could Bagel list his scooters on your site yet?
No.
Oh, Austin.
It's not going to happen in 2021.
Okay.
So, but keep asking.
Okay.
I have a question for you, Austin.
Sure.
I don't know whether you've been listening to the podcast recently, and of course I know you hang on our every word, but I'm actually making this huge leap of faith, and I'm opening my own motorcycle shop.
Okay.
And it looks like it's going to be happening within the next few weeks.
Okay.
It's not going to be a dealership. I mean, it really is going to be just a small workshop, very much of the old school.
Great.
But I seem to recall you actually had a use for those kind of shops almost as facilitators for the Twisted Road rentals coming in and out. Isn't that right?
We were very early in that. It didn't really develop. But
that's a shame.
Here's we do have somebody who's really well connected in a large city, and he goes out to the riding community and he says, anybody who wants me to manage it for you, I will manage it for you. And he takes photos, he does the key transfer, he does every single thing, and he's built up quite a community of riders. So it's, one day maybe we'll use shops as a hub, but it's not part of what we do today.
Okay.
Not yet.
Yeah, and really, from my point of view, I just want to be as big a service to the motorcycle community at large as I can, and obviously that will include yours. But it sounds like you're doing very, very well on your own.
It's been good. I've got a great story for you guys. So you know how I'll say past tense, I owned a Moto Guzzi V7 Classic.
I remember it very well.
I just sold it.
Oh.
So when I sold it, I put it up on whatever, Craigslist and Cycle Trader. And in both places I said, by the way, this bike is available for rent on Twisted Road, and I gave the link. And a guy contacted me. He'd never heard about us before, decided to rent the bike, was thinking about buying it, came to the house, got the keys, and the next day, he was renting it for the weekend, so the next morning, I got a text from him with an offer. And he's now, he owns it. He's really, he's the happiest guy. It was his first bike. There was a bracket that I forgot to give him. I texted him. He came up 3 days later, rode up in the rain. He's covered with water, a big smile on his face. Those early days of riding. And it was really cool for me because, it allowed a way for me to sell my bike much more easily. Someone could take a test ride. It's one of the biggest complaints that people have with buying a used motorcycle is they can't test ride it. So it was really good. It worked. It worked well. So if people are listening and thinking about selling their bikes, list it on Twisted Road. It's free, and then put a link in your listing, linking back to us for people to test ride it before they buy it. It'll really help you sell.
So what you're saying is people can earn extra money by selling their bike on Twisted Road, or by selling a bike that's listed on Twisted
They're
Road.
covered.
We don't have the ability yet. To sell a bike. We don't have that in the plans to sell a bike.
Okay.
But you can say, come rent it on Twisted Road and test ride it and make sure you like it. Because when I first got in the industry, I was talking to somebody about this, and he said, yeah, no one lets you test ride their bike. The one time someone let me test ride their bike before I bought it on Craigslist, they said, yeah, just give me all the cash right now and I'll have it in my hand.
Yep.
Because they don't know if you're going to come back or not. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know if you're going to dump it in a block. So this way, it's completely covered. Let someone test ride it and fall in love with it. In fact, there's a bike that I think I'm going to buy, but it's a big move for me to say I think I'm going to buy it because I've never ridden it, which is a Moto Guzzi Griso. I've heard great.
Oh, that's a great bike.
Yeah, I keep hearing great things about it, and I saw one, and I need to ride it. I need to ride it before I try. So when I'm out in that part of the country, I'll ask the guy to put it up on Twisted Road. I'll fully insured when I ride it around the block for a couple of miles. And then if it's great, I'll buy it and I'll ride it home.
All right. So you're signing up dealerships. You're offering to people that if you're listing your bike for sale to also list on Twisted Road so that they can rent it out as a test ride.
Sure.
Which then you may deduct the cost of the rental from the selling price.
Right. If someone rents it for $100,
you're covered, and those people can really test ride the bike and not just go around the block once. So I've got another question for you.
Sure.
So Jim and I are planning potentially another trip this summer.
Okay.
And where we want to go, we need to fly there because we can only go for the weekend. And there's only one bike for rent there. We need more bikes for rent.
What city is it in?
It's the Black Hills. So Rapid City, Sturgis, that area, right?
Yeah, we don't have much there, which is shocking.
But I have a local connection there that knows the shops.
Nice.
So if I want to have bikes available, can I send you contact information?
Yes. Yeah. Send it.
And so if someone else is doing that too, say they're traveling somewhere and there's not enough bikes for them, or, then they can, if they know someone there who knows the shop, send the information you said, hey, here's the information. Here's the guy. Now, do you want these people to first go and kind of pitch? Hey, would you be interested in listing bikes for rent on
whatever you want? There's a lot of questions that usually come with it. Like what happens if someone drops the bike is always the first question. But if you want to answer some of those, great. If not, just send me their name and number and I'll handle it. And if you have images of your bike and you know what the license plate number is, it'll probably take you about 3 minutes to list your bike on our site. It's really easy and fast. Easy.
Yeah, it is. And I like the fact that you can type in a city, or you can go on the map and see it, and it'll show you what is around there. So like we're looking at the Black Hills, and then I was like, well, maybe we could fly to Denver, and there's a ton of bikes in Denver.
Yep.
And ride up to the Black Hills.
Did I tell you my story about this? I was going to go. I had a conference to go to in Vegas. I don't know if I told you guys this story. So I'm like, okay, should I ride my bike from Chicago to Vegas? Well, the ride to Denver is one of the worst rides ever. It's just flat and straight, right? But the ride from Denver to Vegas is one of the greatest rides. So what do I do? So instead, usually when you go someplace, you say, oh, I'm going to San Francisco. Okay, I'll fly to San Francisco, get a hotel in San Francisco, and I'll also get a rental car in San Francisco. But with our company, what I did was I said, all right, I got to go to Vegas. I'm going to fly to Denver. I rented a motorcycle in Denver. I rode to Vegas. I spent my time at the conference, and I rode back. And I took 2 different routes there. And so now when you realize, you can be on the road for a few days really enjoying the ride, it really opens you up. So your idea to fly into Denver and ride to the Black Hill, it's a great one. It's a great one because you're seeing parts of the country you wouldn't have seen on your way to where you're going.
Well, and that brings up another question. So I realize that there's a lot of bikes in Denver. What are some other places in the country that you have a lot of listings that are have a lot of choices for people?
We have a lot in Southern California and LA. We have a lot in San Francisco, a lot in San Diego. So the whole, really LA down south is great. We have some nice pockets in Texas, Austin, San Antonio, Dallas and Houston also. And then Denver, like you said. And there's a ton of bikes in Illinois right now, in the Chicago area and a little bit in Wisconsin with this dealer program.
Now, and another thing that comes up that I want to just put out there, if you are somebody who's putting your bike up for rent, and here's the other thing that's nice. If somebody wants to rent it, they request it. You get to review them and their riding history and approve them or not. It's not just a done deal.
Right.
And that's another feature that I like, that I can look like if I want to, I haven't put up my Africa Twin yet because that's my baby.
Yeah.
But if I want to make sure that somebody has some riding experience on larger bikes before, letting that bike out.
Liza, can I tell you something crazy?
Yeah.
We're doing that now with our insurance. Our insurance company checks a number of different things. I don't want to reveal too much, but we check certain things to see if somebody actually has the skills to ride a big bike.
Yeah. Well, I know I'll get that when in somebody's profile it says what they own. So you're like, oh, he has a GS 1200. Oh, yeah, no problem. It's not
exactly
no brainer. So I like that about it too. It's not just blind rental, unlike on Airbnb where you get people. I think I just saw on Facebook somebody said, I just rented out my place on Airbnb and I swear they had a paintball fight in my house.
Oh, Jesus. Jesus.
So that's the other thing too, is that you have the control to say yes or no.
Exactly. Total control in the owner's hands. If you're on vacation, if you're out of town, if you need the bike for the weekend, so when a request comes in, you can't honor it, just decline it. There'll be other bikes for that person, and we'll help them through the process.
So, I want to check in with Rick, because Rick, did you know about this concept before? Did you know about Twisted Road?
I heard about it on the show a couple years ago. I remember hearing like infancy of, and kind of the idea, right. I think was kind of, I recalled, and it sounded awesome. It made perfect sense.
So I want to use you bikes as an example of a typical person. Would you travel and rent a bike on Twisted Road?
Yeah, totally. I was talking to someone at work about it, actually. I got an email about what we were doing, and I'm like, oh, right on. And I love bouncing stuff off of him because he's a moto dude and such a different flavor than I. Right. And so he's my buddy Garrett I work with, and I was like, Garrett, what do you think about this? Have you heard about Right On? He's like, oh yeah, I went to Hawaii and I was gonna get a TW200 and I definitely didn't. I'm like, oh, what happened? And he's like, I got really drunk and didn't. And I was like, oh, well, that might have been destiny. And it turns out, it probably was. But the idea that you could be on a vacation somewhere, spur of the moment, pull it out of your ass, hey, we're in Denver, we have an extra gauge, and the flight got screwed, and make the best of it. That's pretty rad.
So let me ask you this. Would you list your bike on Twisted Road?
I was thinking this the whole time you said it.
This is the hard part.
I probably wouldn't, and it's probably just a personal thing because I'm one of those ding-dongs. I can count on 3 fingers how many people have ridden my bike, and 2 of them worked on it and helped me build it.
You know what's really crazy? Right when I got my bike, this guy who I knew in the area, he's been riding. He's got a few bikes, and he said to me, one of these days we'll swap bikes. You can ride mine for whatever, keep it for one of mine for a couple of weeks, and I'll keep yours. We'll try them out. And I remember saying, yeah, it's a great idea, and walking away thinking, that's the freaking craziest idea ever. I'm very happy with mine. I don't want him riding. It was very personal. I thought he was nuts for even asking. And now I've got this business. By the way, he's got like 4 of his bikes on the site, including a Gold Wing that gets rented out all the time.
That'd be an awesome bike to rent, actually, for somebody that's never been on a wing, and to wrap your head around what a wing really can be.
Right.
That's a really cool idea. The extended test ride concept. Working at a dealership, I mean, we actually do test rides, and that blows people's mind daily. Yeah, I work at an Indian dealership in Northern California, and trying to make a hard charge at a V-twin market as somebody who doesn't have the whole market in the palm of their hand, you got to be willing to do some stuff.
Yep.
And test rides is a really easy one for us, being a shop that's been around for a million years. We were the ones that were always like, yeah, sure, go run it around, see what you think.
And Rick, I've got to ask you, because I know Indian's being pretty proactive with that. Do Indian give you any support with that test riding program, or is it entirely your dealership?
They do. They pay us some mileage on demo program. So they'll let us take a few of our units and do it. But at the same time, they don't do a damn thing for our used units. And our pre-owned, we let do test rides too. And you talking about Ride On in the pre-owned, man, I'm gonna go bounce that around the shop. It kind of sounds like a cool idea for an extended test ride. Maybe not every unit. I get it. There's gonna be some stuff you might not want to do it with. But shit, man, when you're trying to work with something that maybe somebody's new to, it'd be a cool opportunity. Like you were saying, there's a difference between a quick dance with a motorcycle, and there's a difference between a weekend with it.
Yep. Right.
And that can really make or break what happens.
Yeah, and it's. Oh, sorry, Bagel.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say that when I was before I'd gotten my first modern Vespa, I'd been riding vintage scooters for years, and the idea of an automatic transmission modern scooter just really did not appeal to me. But it wasn't until I talked to a dealer, and they were willing to let me take an extended test ride on one and borrow it for the weekend.
Right.
And I rode it all around the Bay Area and really got to appreciate the good things about it that I wouldn't have known otherwise. And that sold me on modern Vespas. And then after that's when I bought my first one and kept going from there.
Right. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Jim, did you have something?
Okay, I got a totally fresh angle that I think Austin will appreciate, and Liza will get on this one. But first I want to say that, Austin's been coming on for a long time, and just listening to him speak this time, what a long way you've come. I can remember we used to pepper you with questions from the very beginning. Even though Liza was an early supporter because she believed in the concept, she would ask the hard questions about insurance and if this happens and what about that. And I tell you what, back then it was a little bit of we're figuring that out, and we're working on that, and you'll be good. But I was always a little wary. Talking 3 years ago when we first met. But now when you come out and you say you're insured to this, we're doing background checks for big bikes, and now you've got a track record. I'm just stoked it's come so far.
Thanks,
and you've got
buddy.
it wired
Thanks.
so tight.
Yeah,
really
thanks.
Cool. So,
it feels different. It feels different.
Yeah, and you sound totally different. It's great.
Thanks.
So here's the new angle, Liza. You can jump in.
All right.
Let's say Bagel might be curious. You get a new girlfriend. She's not into riding, but you want to get her into riding, and you got to try different bikes out. And the Goldwing made me think of this. So maybe your usual ride, is like a sport bike or something, and your girl gets on that and like, that's terrible. So then you're like, let's try an Indian cross country, or let's try a Harley, pick your one. Or what have you. And then you could try out different bikes with your partner to find out what works for the two of you.
Great idea. It's a great idea. Yeah.
I give Liza credit for it. But when you said Goldwing, it really came to mind because
I suggested that. Yeah. So because he's got a lady friend, and
Bagel.
Jim has a lot of bikes. They're great bikes. They're not great for passengers.
Right.
On purpose, of course.
And
like all of us.
Selfish.
I truly believe if you want to impress a lady friend, a passenger, make them as comfortable as possible. And if you have, a bagger or a Goldwing or something like that, I think they'll enjoy the experience better, and it'll be more of a fun outing, riding in luxury with them rather than them holding on like a backpack. Can
I tell you a funny story? I'll tell you a funny story. Years ago, I ran a boat company, and the company I was with purchased it from the original founders. So I had the luxury of sitting down with these guys that built this company up for 15 years and talking to them about things. And one of the things we talked about was new boat design. So we're talking about designing this one boat, and somebody thought we should have a single seat in the cockpit for this one boat. And he said, no, you need a bench seat with for a passenger to sit next to you. And someone said, well, why would you want a bench seat on a 35-foot boat, but on a 40 and higher, you want a single kind of captain's chair? And he said, when someone's buying a 35-foot boat, they're dreaming about the person, the girl who's going to be sitting next to them all the time when they go out fishing. And then by the time they get to a 40-foot boat, they realize they're fishing by themselves and no one's going to be sitting next to them.
Wow.
Great.
What a difference 5 foot makes.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of difference to your pocketbook, because I know for a fact, 35-foot boat is about 100,000 cheaper than a 40-foot boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was compelling though. I mean, like for example, I ride an Africa Twin, which is more comfortable than a FC1, on a pillion. But all of a sudden you start talking about the Harleys or like a cross country, something like that. Mm-hmm. Totally different experience for the passenger.
Right.
So anyway, I thought that was a cool idea Liza had.
Yeah. Cool.
I mean, I think the upshot, Austin, we've kind of seen you grow, and the first time you came on the show, as you said, it was very, very early days for Twisted Road.
Yeah,
and like us, you've grown. And
thanks.
it's really fantastic to see it.
Yeah, I appreciate hearing that. If
we played even the smallest part in the development of your company, that's wonderful.
Well, you did. Of course you did. And we get people all the time who say, oh, I heard about you through the Misfits, and I heard you on the Misfits. We still have your referral code is still up and running, Liza. If anyone, first time on our site, if they go to our site and they log in, and when they log in, there's a button that says, click, do you have a referral code?
Yeah.
Right when you're registering, you can type in Misfit. And if you type in Misfit, you get a free day of riding. If you rent for 3 days or more, you only pay for 2. And if you if you rent for 1 or 2 days, you get 25% off. So free day if it's 3 days or more, and 1 or 2 days, you get 25% off. Misfit's the code.
That's awesome. I'm glad that that's still up there.
Oh, it's still up there. Yeah.
And hopefully someday we can get our scooters on there too.
Hopefully someday. Hopefully someday.
Well, if they weren't damn death traps, they might be more inclined.
Oh, when you're riding them, they're one thing, and when Bagel rides them, they're something else.
You just don't know how to ride a scooter.
I know. I should point out, though, I'm very happy in a skirt, Bagel.
Oh, yes.
Well,
yes. For riding a scooter.
Since we established that scooters aren't for rent, let's establish some of the other parameters here. Do you have any trikes for rent?
We do, but we don't have them on the general site. So dealers with trikes we're allowing as a test right now.
Okay, good.
Doing really well in the Midwest.
And what about Can-Am spiders?
Not yet. Getting a lot of requests for those also. We get more requests for those than we do for scooters, and they're not on yet. What
about Polaris Slingshot?
Same.
Okay. So those are things that may be coming down the road. Is there a is there a minimum CC requirement?
There really isn't, but the way we like to think about it is, unless it's a bike with a sidecar, it has to have two wheels and be able to go on the highway.
Okay.
And so that's kind of our general rule of thumb. We also only take street bikes, no dirt bikes. So we check bikes for license plates and turn signals and the tires, just to make sure that they're not really dirt bikes that people are putting on.
I think I've looked at that too. You don't want people to take even like an adventure bike and go riding in the dirt. Right?
Not yet.
It has to be on.
Not yet. It has to be on the street. Yeah.
And then what about how old can a bike be? Are there vintage bikes on there?
We have vintage bikes on there. Okay. I think the oldest bike I've got on the site is from 1943, 1953.
Wow.
What you know what it is?
It's an Indian. It's an Indian.
Oh, that's cool.
Are we foot clutching and tank shifting and
all sorts of the controls are all backward and
hell yeah.
There's some vintage bikes in Connecticut. There's a woman in Connecticut that does a lot of restorations, and she puts her bikes up there as well. So we don't have an age limit on the bikes, no.
So again, if somebody wants to have bikes available, or maybe they think this is a great idea and they want to have bikes near them available, they can go and get the contact information at the dealership and send it to you, and you'll try and hook
I'll
them
do
up.
it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Perfect. I want bikes to rent in the Black Hills. So I am going to hook you up with some dealerships.
Perfect. I love hearing that. Thank you so much, Liza.
Yeah, well, I'm doing it for me, but you're welcome.
I get it.
Something I'll mention while we're hanging out, I just logged on because I've never registered for Twisted Road. Twisted Road. I did it literally in like 30 seconds, I think it took.
Yeah, to register an account.
Yeah, register account like that. So
did you put Misfit in the code so you got the credit for that, or did you forget?
He forgot.
I heard you talking about it, but I'm not renting a bike yet, so I didn't think I had needed to put it in.
Okay, got it.
All right. As long as I can put my jacket at your booth the next time we're at a show, I don't care what
I know.
You have no idea.
We keep coming back to that, but Austin,
I know.
You were like our version of home. Whenever we'd go to an event, we'd look for Austin and
that's great.
We had a home, a place to do our stuff, but also to come back and meet and rally at.
Yeah, of course.
Can we make a date, Austin? All of us and you at the one show in 2022.
Well, let's say this. If I have a booth, then yes.
Okay.
We're trying to figure out whether we're going to keep having booths or not, and if so, how we're going to do it.
Well, if I'm up and running as successfully as I hope to be, perhaps we can talk about sharing.
Love that idea. There you
go.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, when we hang up, I am going to look at the Cleveland Moto thing and already get my reservations in order for
AMA Vintage
Days 2022. Trust me, it will not see any dirt. Trust me.
Hey, trust me, you may want to, in the Cleveland area during the week of July every summer, may want to let people put their dirt bikes, their pit bikes, their scooters, their piece of shit little trashy bikes. It is in your best interest. Let them listen. They will all be rented.
Yeah.
I got it. You have an AMA subset where you just rent at AMA Vintage Days, and it's just like a barter. So you could trade a chicken to use a scooter for 2 days. Who knows what?
Yeah.
even better, get like a cargo container and have it there for pickup. So you can like have everyone drop off their bikes at the cargo container and let everyone pick up their bikes and drop them back off there, kind of like a library book or something.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Our limitation on some of those things, like riding in the dirt, is about insurance more than anything. It's more than anything. It's
liability. Makes sense.
So I have one more question, and this is a responsible question. In the time of COVID, have you changed any of your practices and interactions to make them safer?
No, we have not.
Oh.
I don't know if that's the wrong answer, but here's what I'll say: that I've rented a bike twice since March. Both times the person came out with a mask on. I had, a mask on as well and gloves, and it was just, I don't know, it was a very clean transaction. So we've been asked, like, what do we do about helmets? Do we enforce helmet laws? Do we require riders to have helmets? And the answer is similar to COVID, which is whatever the requirement is in the state where the helmets are, the rider's just required to follow that law. I mean, if Illinois, you don't need a helmet, I'm not going to require people to use helmets in Illinois. COVID's a really sensitive issue, and some people take it much more seriously than others. So we just try to be flexible. We trust our community to do what's right for them.
All right. I mean, it is a pretty easy transaction. It's just exchanging a picture of the driver's license and the odometer, and yeah, it's pretty easy.
There's like no contact in the exchange to begin with, and we people want to get out. They want to get on a bike. They want a social distance. It's like the greatest thing to do. See a lot of people who haven't had a bike that had a bike years ago and don't anymore getting on now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. We were talking earlier about, worried about putting your bike on there. So unless, and I'm looking at the site right now in San Francisco. So unless your bike is nicer than a 2018 BMW S1000RR or a 17 Ducati 959 Panigale, or a 2017 Aprilia, V4 1100RR. But if you want to be the coolest kid in town when you come to visit San Francisco, there's a 2017 Ducati Scrambler, looks like a custom cafe racer that is wicked for $120 a day. I want to just go to San Francisco and rent it and be a cool kid. But yeah, I mean, the quality of bikes on this site are amazing.
Thanks.
But, you know what? It does bring up something for me. I remember because renting out my Versys and my KLR up there, and the Versys was really just used for rental or for loaning to people. But there is a responsibility as somebody who's going to list your bike. Because I remember I was like, oh, I got a rental. I better go out and check. And like the tire pressure was low and the chain lag and all these things from the bike just sitting. I'm like, crap. I got to check the maintenance. And I know I've heard stories of people before who went to get a bike and it had not been properly maintained. So that is something, just a reminder to anyone. If you are going to list a bike, you do have to be responsible and to check the maintenance on it.
And don't think that it's going to be that you'll have time. Don't think you'll have time. We have people who put a bike on today and they have a rental tomorrow. So don't think there's going to be time to go get the bike registered, put plates on it, fill the tires. You may not have time.
Yeah, it's in your best interest to make sure your bike is as safe as possible.
Right. It doesn't happen often. It's really rare that somebody gets to a bike and it's not road ready. It's rare. So
that was the best thing for Liza. I had never seen the Versys so well maintained when she threw that up on the road. She was putting new chain and sprockets on it and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
That's great.
That is exactly the kind of shit that I would pull. I'd list the bike on Twisted Road and somebody would come over to rent it. And, oh, shit, it's in bits in the corner of the garage. Give me an hour and I'll put it together.
Oh, brilliant. So I also just found a 1975 Harley shovelhead chopper.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So it runs the gamut.
So if you want to make sure you want to be a chopper dude, that's a pretty good way to dip your toe in without banging your head on the wall.
If you want to impress the ladies.
Yeah. I'm going to hang out for a little while as you guys keep talking, because there's a bike or two I want to show you.
All right.
At least share the link with you guys.
Well,
give me a few minutes here to find it.
While you're doing that, I will share some news that I am excited about. Actually, I'm really excited about. You guys, you know what our most butt-worthy bike is, right?
I know
Come on.
The Britain.
The Briton. That's
yes,
right.
the Britain.
Right.
That's yours.
And guess what I am going to own soon?
A Briton?
Yes. You know how?
What?
You know how?
A little toy, you mean?
What scale is it? What scale is it?
1/12 or
Yes, 1/12. So here's the thing. Years ago, they came out with I think it's a 1/12 scale model, which sold out. They sold for like $300, and then like years later, they were going for like $1,000 on eBay.
Wow.
So the Britons have announced they're coming out with a new model. Yeah, exactly, right. With new casting it's like die cast metal and all the bits and pieces. And they're gonna have both versions. They're gonna have the pink and blue bike that we know, but also the black and yellow, the factory racing bike. They haven't set a price yet, but it's again, I think going to be again another limited edition run. I don't care how much it is. I'm buying them. And here's the thing that's got me really worked up. So you guys know the original bike, there were 10 of them and they're numbered 1 through 10. They're coming out with 10 limited edition models for each number. Oh yeah. I want to get one of those.
Oh
I
my
don't know how much
God.
it's going to be. I know I'm spending stupid money. I'm just
Yeah, you
saying,
got too
I know
much
I'm
money.
spending stupid money.
So you're saying there's 10 numbered editions in addition to like
10 limited edition, each one with the numbered 1 through 10.
I guarantee you they're sold already, Liza.
yeah,
Does
Liza
it come with a
Yeah.
spoon or a plate?
I don't know, man.
So they're only
Because-
releasing 10 of this model?
Huh?
They're only
Yeah,
releasing
there's
10
going to be
units?
10 of the special edition.
Okay, so there's a special edition and there's a regular edition, you're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Yes,
The regular
okay.
edition, they're all going to be the same, and they're going to come, I think, with the decals for pink or black or something.
Okay, I got you.
But they're going to do 10 limited edition.
So
paper.
how many
Wow.
of the original Britons are left?
Isn't it all 10?
Yep.
Yeah, it's all 10. They're
So
all
I
accounted.
guarantee you, the people who own each of those Britons
Yep.
have already put an order in for the corresponding model for their bike. You don't stand a chance.
One guy
Well-
owns 3. One guy owns 3.
He's going to own 3 matching die-cast ones.
But there
Trust me
might-
on this.
Emma, you stop
Liza.
crushing these dreams. You stop that right now.
But there might be one person who doesn't get the memo and you might
Yeah.
jump in that spot. You never know.
Telling you. Anyway, I am stoked. I'm going to maybe multiples. I'm just saying.
Oh my God.
You're
Maybe
gonna get a
multiples.
box of them.
Wow.
I know you, Liza. That is no idle threat.
We should
When it
give
comes
them
to
a-
you
we
and
should-
models,
Do you remember how many Evil Knievel wind-up toys I bought?
Right?
Yes.
we definitely caught a few of them on a fire.
Yeah. And we gave if you remember rightly, we gave a lot of them away. You're not going to be giving away these Britons.
Brilliant.
I might. It depends on the price.
Mm,
Ooh,
Well,
Patreon,
I might.
Patreon,
I might.
wow.
that bag.
Man.
If you
Yes.
want to do a Patreon subscriber to $1,500 a month plus, we will give you a die-cast Briton, limited edition.
You know what's insane about that? How much do you have access to Emma for a month? Was it like $5 or $10?
Yeah.
Yeah.
$10.
Oh my God, that should be $1,500 a month. I swear to God.
Oh,
Well,
Jim, you
and-
say the kindest things. You know, I mean, I want to make it clear that in that role, yeah, there I am. In that role, I try and be more of a cheerleader as much as giving advice, because I get a lot of people, writing in and saying, I simply can't do this. And I say, oh yes, you can, and just being there, and sometimes it's enough. It's a wonderful thing.
Well, and continuing in the Britain news, there was another really cool thing I discovered, and this is motorcycle adjacent. Emma, I sent you the link. I'm going to guess you didn't click it and see it.
Probably.
Okay. So, but if you love the Briton story for John Britton in New Zealand, who designed these Briton bikes, there's a TV show called Grand Designs. It's an architectural show where it shows houses being built and all the obstacles people deal with, and it's trying to stay on budget, and these beautiful grand design ones. Well, the New Zealand Grand Designs show did an episode on John Britton's house. And here's what's amazing. He built this house, and it used to be like a couple of barns that were converted, and it has a what do you call a glass room, like with flowers and shit? What's that called?
Conservatory.
An atrium. The conservatory. So the bridge between these is like a conservatory that has a pool in it, and he's been gone a long time, and his wife still lives there, and it's kind of fallen into disrepair. So his daughter and son-in-law came in as partners on the property with all these new design ideas, and we're doing a completely huge refab. But one of the things they wanted to do was retain all these things that John Britton designed, and it was amazing. Like the banister in the conservatory, which is curved, and handles for doors and for faucets. These are things that he designed and cast. And what's amazing is there's in one of the rooms, there's one of the Britton motorcycles is in the room, and you look at that and you look at like the exhaust pipes and all those curves, and then you turn and you look at the stairwell, and it has the same like kind of curves and shapes and design in it. And I found it to just be an absolutely fascinating episode. But here's the best part, Emma, and this is why I sent it to you. It also has a detached like a garage that got turned into a living quarters that is serving as a rental unit, like an Airbnb, that you can come and stay on John Britton's property. You can go into the conservatory and the swimming pool, and then one of the wings in the house, they have like a gathering room with the motorcycle and a fireplace and couches and a pool table that you can use in his house. I'm like, I have to go to New Zealand now. Holy shit.
Yeah. Like if you needed another reason to go to New Zealand, right?
Go to New Zealand, stay in John Britton's home. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Right?
If we could go to New Zealand.
Oh, I know.
And rent dirt bikes.
Hey, Liza, can you let me share my screen? It says you've disabled that.
I can. It's not going to do that much for the podcast. Let me see.
No, but
It'll probably burn down the garage.
How do I do that? Let's see. More.
Oh.
Make co-host.
Oh my God. I'm Googling it right now. This is the Britton stables.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is ridiculous.
Wow.
Oh my.
I don't know if that fixed it, Austin.
all right, let me check.
Emma, we're going.
Okay, I'm up.
Bring your bathing suit.
No, that's all right. I'm going to send you an email, Liza.
Wait. Oh, wait. There you go. Try that. I think I fixed it. Yeah. So anyway,
Good.
the Britons. I'm excited.
Oh, the house is beautiful in Christchurch.
I know. Ooh. So he's showing us.
These are down in
what?
Marina Del Rey.
Wait, I've never even heard of a DT 125R.
That was only made in Japan for 2 years, 1990 and 1991.
Yamaha DT 125R. It looks like a trellis frame.
Oh, you imagine
body,
putting a skinny person on that at Laguna Seca?
Wow.
Put Charlie on that in Laguna. Cool.
That's fantastic.
Oh,
wow, look at that dual exhaust. Wow. Okay, we're now looking at bike porn. I'm just
listen to us look.
Yeah.
So look up on Twisted Road Yamaha DT 125, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's in Santa Monica. That's
the old K1.
Yeah.
Wow.
And those things are amazing because they've got these tiny little trunks either side of the seat at the back. And they're tiny. You can put one glove in each.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have to say I've done that. And especially, we used to go to Craigslist and just kind of, we called it porn.
Yeah.
And and there's so many people aren't listing bikes there, but you can go to Twisted Road and look at the porn there, which is really
cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh, these are
nice.
Beautiful bikes.
These are these are in Santa Monica. There's a shop there called Iconic Motorbikes.
Yeah.
Oh, we know Iconic.
Oh, you know Abby? You know Abby, of course.
Yeah.
So these are all Abby's through his shop.
Ah, nice.
In fact, Abby, or it might have been his partner, was doing a video recently. They managed to get a hold of an NR 750 Honda, which is my up-the-butt bike.
Huh.
And the NRs, they were $40,000 30 years ago.
Wow.
And he's riding around on one. I'm jealous. Oh, look. You've got enough room to put a small bratwurst in that tail fairing, but only a small one.
Under the seat storage.
Under the seat bratwurst storage. Yeah.
But it's got all the labels on it. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
No, this is perfect
livery
because
colors are
he
great.
collects and sells bikes.
Right.
Yep.
And makes perfect sense now because he's got these very collectible bikes. But some of them are like, he'll have like a first year R1, something that isn't like, $1 million bike. But there are a lot of people who may want it, and it makes perfect sense. I'm so glad that you.
Right. Yeah, I met Abby years ago, and somehow, I met him like maybe a month after I met you guys. It was that long ago. And then we just reconnected. He goes, "Hey, what can I do here? You guys cover this in insurance?" I'm like, "We do. Bring them on. List them."
Nice.
A lot of the bikes he's got are on consignment, so he's not ready to list. He can't do that yet without the owner's approval. But hopefully we'll be able to grow that more.
Well, Austin, I want to thank you for coming on and catching us up. It's always exciting, and really, congratulations to you for persevering.
Oh, this is great. Here comes Jim. What are you looking at, Jim?
What did he find? He found his own bike porn.
Is that the bike in San Francisco that you like?
Yeah, that's the Ducati Scrambler kind of cafe racered out. Not exactly my thing, but how cool is that?
That's pretty cool.
Anyway, digging it.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm so glad that you are providing this resource for us because, again, I want to go rent bikes, want to go places. I don't want to rent a car. I want to rent a bike.
Right.
And you're creating that solution. And I will acknowledge there are bike rental places out there.
Yep.
We know you got Eagle Rider, you got a lot of different places.
Yep.
But the issue I've had with them is it's usually like about $200 a day for a new, well-maintained Harley or BMW. That's pretty much the standard, which is a lot of money. But what I like about this is people can set their prices.
Yep.
I have my KLR up for $75 a day.
Right.
So you can have affordable alternatives,
Yep. And if someone uses the discount, now they're getting it for $150 for 3 days, the Misfit referral. So.
Yeah. So I'm so glad that you're still with us. And
thanks, of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
Austin, it's always such a pleasure.
Thanks, Emma. It's good seeing everyone.
Yeah, and we're all still here. We lead to a certain extent such a social life.
Yeah.
And it seems that we only ever meet in the flesh at these large gatherings. And, we're all kind of missing it. So
yeah, I get it. Yeah,
I'm counting the days till it all starts up again. But I will check in with you because doing the shows and having a presence at shows is really going to be an integral part going forward of who I am. Yeah. And if I could share the cost of a booth,
we'll split a booth. That's easy. I think
we'll split a booth. It'd be the easiest thing in the world, and that'd be a great incentive for you to come out and actually,
Yeah, and send me whatever info you want on your shop. We could talk about how I can help promote it. Austin@twistedroad.com. You can send me.
Yeah. I'll find you.
Okay. I'm easy.
And also, I just want to give another shout out again to Phil at Cleveland Moto for signing up with you. Here's the thing, and you probably know this, Austin, but I'll say Phil is a smart man and he is an honest man. And any feedback he gives you is going to be valuable.
Well, Phil reached out to me like 2 years ago. We weren't ready. And he said, so his email said something like, so are you not interested in having dealer bikes on your site? It was something like that, because we weren't responsive and we didn't answer some of his questions. And I remember saying, we're not ready. We're just not ready. We don't want to mislead you. We don't want to put you in an awkward situation. We're not ready. Well, we're ready now. And we had a great conversation. I think in 15 minutes, we were through the whole discussion. He's like, I get it. This is great. He's like, if I put 10 dealers in a room for a whole weekend, we couldn't come up with all the things you guys did. So he will be live soon. We're working on it in the background here. I think by early February, he'll be live.
Yeah, nice. Phil is definitely a lot of fun and also a really forward-thinking dude.
Oh, it's great.
Phil's dynamite. Yeah, he really is.
Yeah, great guy.
Oh, cool. Well, we're going to start talking about a scooter, so I know you don't want to be around for that.
Yeah, I got to go.
Phil rent some scooters.
Dinner's ready.
I know.
All right, nice meeting you, Rick. All Bagel, right. Congrats on your new love life interest.
Thanks, Austin.
Sure. I'll see everyone later.
All right, see you, Austin.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, Austin.
So you guys might remember that I threw out a kind of a challenge to us last week.
You did.
Dun, dun.
When we talked about the Harley Topper. So I thought it would be.
I misheard you. I misheard you, Liza. That's my name. I thought you said the Harley Plopper.
What'd you find on the Plopper, Miss Emma?
I thought you said Mr. Hopper from Three's Company.
Well, it is kind of shaped like an outhouse.
It's all what you do with it.
So
yes, you could definitely take a dump in it.
I thought we'd do it this way. I thought let's let Emma do a little history hole on the Harley Topper, and hopefully each of us has something that we can add. Maybe if you guys have a little tidbit or something. I have a little trivia to throw into the mix. So we'll let Emma go rant on and on and on as she does. And if you have something to add, just jump right in.
Okay. Well, the best place to start when you're talking about a lightweight American bike that really was a product of the 60s. Is that better?
Yes.
The best place to start is Italy in 1946. And Italy, after the Second World War, was basically a country ruined. And if you want to get your country prosperous and moving after a great cataclysmic event, in effect the Second World War, the best thing you can do is get your country mobile. And if people can move around and go from town to town and go to their jobs and actually kind of communicate one another, it's one of the fundamental stepping stones of a prosperous society. And they realized this very, very early on in Italy, and there's this great push to make very, very low-cost transportation that was comfortable, weather protective, and basically unisex. And there were some great cars that came out at that time, but there was also the scooter. And it was really credited with Vespa, who started it off, but there were other manufacturers too. But the beauty of these things is they were cheap, they were reliable, and men and women could ride them. Now, here we are in 2020, and if you look at who's doing this podcast now, it's a good selection of men and women. If we went back to the late 1940s, for a start, there wouldn't be this mix. There was very, very much a difference between the gender, how they behaved and how they actually dressed. And the beauty of the scooter was a woman who in the 1940s was probably going to be wearing a pencil skirt and heels could ride it as adeptly as a man in pants. So that was the beauty of the design. And throughout the 1950s, you'd go to Italy and there would be tons of these things buzzing around. Now, when we get towards the middle and the late 50s, people from overseas, people from America, people from England, they started traveling doing more worldwide traveling. And inevitably, you go to a foreign country and you say, hey, these things are great. Let's start riding these things back home. And so throughout the 1950s, scooters that really started off as a product for Italian people became popular really all over the world with a certain type of person, Bagel.
Yes.
In the late 50s, a lot of the domestic manufacturers wanted a piece of that pie. Now, even Triumph, did a very, very small scooter called the Tina and a larger one called the Tigris.
Yep.
And the BSA, I think the BSA was called the Sunbeam, which was the same thing. So motorcycle manufacturers realized there was value in scooter design. Now, America already had a very, very sort of rudimentary scooter, the Cushman. But, I mean, it was really a very rudimentary thing. And, you know, Harley Davidson thought they could do better. And so they came up with a standalone design that was very, and I say it was very loosely based on the Zundap Bella. So what we had, it was a scooter in very much the traditional scooter design. You had a split front fork with enclosed bodywork, little 12-inch wheels, 5-inch drum brakes. It was a 160cc two-stroke engine. Where it differed from the European ones, it was an automatic transmission bike with a constantly variable transmission, whereas in 1959, Vespas, Lambrettas were still manual transmission with a clutch.
I have a question.
Yes.
How does a two-stroke work with a CVT?
Oh, it works very well.
Yeah. Just
No,
my
it works.
experience with a two-stroke that you need to kind of ring it a bit, but that would make it kind of
Yeah, but no, all you do, the only difference with the CVT, so let me explain how CVTs work, because a lot of people don't understand how they work. Generally, it's a belt drive, and you'll have a pulley at the front, which is capable via rollers of expanding the distance between the V's and contracting it. Now, obviously, if the pulleys are closer together, the belt is riding at a greater distance on the pulley. So, and the further apart they are, the belt is closer into the pulley. So you basically start off with the belt very, very close into the pulley. And as you rev it, bob weights basically come out of slots and push the pulley wheels closer together, pushing the belt out to a larger diameter. So basically you're getting a very, very smooth like that. Now, as you're well aware, two strokes, they tend to have a little more power at the top. So it's just a characteristic of how the ramps and the pulleys and the springs are made that it gives you drive at a slightly higher RPM than an equivalent four-stroke.
Yeah,
it's a very, very easy thing to do.
Yeah, it just has to be tuned for the engine.
Yeah, exactly. And they're infinitely tunable.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, so the Topper wasn't available to the public really until 1960, but it started production in 1959, and they did a couple of things to it in 1959. They did this epic ride from Bakersfield to Death Valley and back. Or was it hang on, let's have a look. It was either Death Valley or Palm Springs. No, it's Death Valley. But they went over, I think, 7,000 feet on the way and back down with zero maintenance to show how reliable this thing would be. In reality, that was a very, very carefully built bike, especially for that trip. Public got a very, very different machine. And the Milwaukee... And one of the earliest customers were the Milwaukee Brewers, who actually used one as like a pit bike. And again, for promotion purposes. But basically, 1960, it was introduced. I mean, it was sort of successful. I mean, I'd love to be able to get into a time machine, go back to 1960, and look around and look at these 20-foot-long Oldsmobiles and Cadillacs, and even compact cars back then were like 15 feet long, and see what kind of sales pitch it would be to sell this tiny scooter in this land that's inhabited by behemoths. I should imagine it'd be a pretty hard sell. Those people that did buy the scooter really complained a lot of problems with the drive. So it was actually changed. The drive was changed in 61 to make it a lot more reliable in the weather. Final drive was always by chain. And again, there's this thing that out of sight is out of mind. And I think putting a chain final drive on a scooter, it would be a very, very easy thing to neglect. And especially if you're selling a vehicle to somebody who is not necessarily going to be focusing on maintenance and just focusing on something they can jump on and swing their leg over. So, you know, a couple of odd little design choices, but there we are. Apparently, it had 9 horsepower, and that sounds generous to me. I mean, it was a 160cc 2-stroke. 9 horsepower is quite a lot if that was accurate. I suspect it was probably closer to 6 or 7. They did 2 versions. In 1961, they did, was it a C or an H? I think it was an H version, which in Harley speak is hot.
AH, yeah.
Yeah. H stands for hot, very famously used on the Sportster, which was the CH, competition hot. And that, I believe, how much do they get out of it? Didn't actually quote a brake horsepower for that, but it had a new alloy cylinder head and revised ports and compression ratio. It went up to 8-to-1. God, heady stuff.
I would like to break in for my addition to the story, which is some trivia.
Yes, go on.
The 1991 Charlie Sheen movie Hot Shots.
Yes.
Featured a character whose name was Topper Harley.
Right.
That's it. That's all I get.
Yep.
That's a good one, though. I will give you credit for that one.
But
now that you say it, I do remember that.
That was a frigging hilarious film.
It was.
There may or may not be a band called Topper Harley. Well, you'll accidentally find on YouTube playing some
I love it.
punk rock.
Oh, brilliant.
I would like to also...
Hang on, I'm not done yet.
I'm putting my 2 cents in. We all get to add to this.
Well, all right.
So this is not trivia. This is just my opinion that the Harley Topper with a sidecar most closely resembles a carnival ride.
Yes.
Where do you put the quarter in it to sit on top while it bounces?
Does that not look like a carnival ride?
All right, so here's why
the color was as big as a bike.
I think they had things outside of Alpha Beta when I was a child.
Yeah.
I think it was a darling of the Milwaukee manufacturing group because you had the optional sidecar or utility case, which could easily carry a full keg of beer back to the assembly line after lunch. So yeah, I think it was a pit bike. It was a pit bike designed for factory workers.
All right, Emma, continue.
The second one was actually a detuned version down to 5 horsepower. And the idea behind this, why would you detune a bike? Well, apparently there was a law back then that if you produced a motorcycle under a certain amount, and famously the Whizzers were this way, you didn't need a license to ride it. So I suspect in 62 when they brought it out, you know, sales were pretty dismal, and they thought, well, you know, there's 1,000 newspaper boys riding around on Whizzers. Let's get some of that action. nevertheless, I mean, it soldiered on through 1965. I think the most glaring fault, though, and forgive me, Bagel, and please, I mean, it's no reflection on you, but my suspicion, this bike was almost certainly marketed towards women. And
well, actually, the what I had seen is that the marketing, they marketed it more as a kid's bike than anything.
And perhaps that came through in later years, but I think the original concept was a runaround for a woman. Okay. And the most glaring problem with the bike is the way you started it.
The pull start.
Because it had a rope starter like a frigging lawnmower.
Yep.
And I know for a fact that a 160cc engine on a rope starter, you'd need arms like Schwarzenegger to start that. And the thought of a nicely dressed suburban housewife wearing 1960s fashions, honking on a pull starter, trying to start this thing.
Yeah.
On the right arm of Conan.
On a pesky two-stroke that may not be properly maintained. Yeah.
Well, and you had a lot of you had a competitive import market, right, during that time, you know?
Right, exactly.
I mean, so look at what they're competing with.
Right, and the thing is, if you look at a Vespa or a Lambretta from the same time, both of those had very, very long kickstarts that were geared for men and women to use. They're the easiest things in the world to kickstart. You know, you step on the kickstart and the bloody thing starts because it was designed that way. So, I mean, it was a flawed design. Looking back on it now, I think it's a very, very interesting design concept. And it was very much of the time.
It's almost reminding me of lawn equipment.
It's got a kind of golf cart look about it.
The vibe, you're looking between your legs at a choke lever down there, you know, and a pull cable. And, you know, and it made sense to me. I was like, this is familiar, you know.
It is lawnmower like.
Well, you know, Emma touched on it. You know, it's very much like a Cushman. You know, I've worked with a lot of, you know, kind of farm equipment over the years, and the cheap farm equipment is kind of Cushman oriented and weird pulley systems. And
so domestic scooter stuff, right? Wasn't Cushman one of the players?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Cushman was one of the players.
Yeah, they predated the Harley. They were around in the 30s, I think.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So what about? I've heard another company. Someone help me here. Powell scooters.
Powell, Salisbury were also American scooter manufacturers that started in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
So it was no new idea over here, but it got a lot better. It sounds like.
I'm pretty sure.
And actually, those.
I was going to say, sorry, Bagel. I'm pretty sure that Salisbury contained all the patents for the variable drive. They were the first.
Okay.
Very odd-looking thing, a Salisbury scooter.
Yeah, very cool. And
it's cool, but odd.
Yeah, and some of those early American scooters actually served as inspiration for the Italian scooters that came out in the 40s after World War II. But of course, they improved the aesthetics and the design.
So I have something to share.
And I'm done. I'm done now. Yeah, I'm done.
So I have something to share. This is something that Jim and I have seen in person. We mentioned it last week that we saw it in the vault at the Peterson Museum, but I found a screenshot. So, and Rick, maybe you don't know this exists. This is a prototype that never went into production. 1949 Indian motorcycle scooter.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yes.
Now, wait a minute.
Wow.
Let's get a Bagel weigh in as a scooter dude. Does this look familiar? Are we seeing any recycling or like design?
It looks like a Honda Ruckus.
Well, it looks very much like a vintage Cushman. Maybe a little bit more basic.
Okay,
but just the idea of an Indian scooter just seems really cool to me.
If you look at what Indian was doing back then, it was a bunch of middle figures to everybody. You know, we can play, so why not do this?
Yeah, what I love about it.
There's a headdress on the fender.
Yes.
It's called the Style Master. Is actually the model, the Indian Style Master.
As it should be. Are you looking at that fender, Jim? You need one of those on the bike you're building.
Dude, you should see the rear fender. Look at the, I don't know if you look at you can't see it, but the rear fender and the tail light from the back, you want to have sex
styled. Yeah, totally.
Anyway,
sleek. It's very much of the time period. It was beautiful.
Very rare, but it's interesting that this was 1949, that an Indian almost got into the game way before Harley.
Yeah. Well, and someone too alluded to golf carts, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Harley may have been dabbling into golf carts and things during that period too. I think they were really diverse in the mid 60s.
One of my best friends in the whole world met his wife on a broken down Harley Davidson golf cart at a dealership they worked at.
Oh, was it a boy or a girl?
Yes.
Exactly.
So I'd like to add something else. The value. Anyone want to try and take a shot at what the value is of a Harley Topper scooter? You think it's pretty rare, right? I mean, Bagel, as scooters go, is this one of the rarer ones?
It's pretty rare. I mean, they only made them for 5 years. Not a lot of them survived because, they were not particularly reliable and they just kind of got tossed. There are a few of them that are still around. I've never really shopped for them, so I'm not sure what the value of them is, but I would wager if they're in good running condition, they're probably worth between $3,000 and $5,000, I would think.
Yeah, actually, what I was finding online is $4,000 to $8,000. $8,000 being like pristine, like museum quality. $4,000 for something like good running, good, not maybe dings and dents, but a good running specimen. So it's very collectible, but not completely out there. I mean, this is an affordable Harley still.
Yeah.
For $5,000,
I mean,
right?
it's
AMA Vintage
not,
Days.
Yeah, it's not a high value bike. The value I can see with it, if you want to kind of buy your way into that kind of, I almost want to say it's cosplaying, that sort of 60s Mad Men thing. And for the guys, if you want to wear a shark skin suit, or the girls, you want to have your hair done in a bob and a crimpline dress. It's a good, cheap way to kind of buy into that era. Because if you want a 60, 61, 62 car these days, you better start laying out 25 to 30 grand for nice ones. Yeah. So it's a nice way to buy yourself into a period of American history that I find very, very interesting. I think the period from 1959 to 1963 is a very, very interesting period of American history.
Well, Bagel, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If you were to get a Harley Topper, I'm just curious, would you get a do-rag to match the same color as your scooter?
Well, actually, I would, because if I got a Harley Topper, I would paint it orange and black.
Attaboy.
And put all the skulls and the flames and the fringes and all the farkles on it, and I would take it out to Sturgis and ride it all around Sturgis for the whole week.
And just go neener, neener, neener.
I got a Harley, man. Get a real bike.
On the horns on the front.
Yes.
You would get you'd be so late.
You know what you would get? You would get?
What's that?
You would get a lady in a bikini riding on the back.
Yes, you would.
You better be
you
careful.
would.
Probably.
Yeah, you would.
Responsibility riding a Topper.
Good thing you have a girlfriend now.
Indeed.
So
a couple of facts that I wanted to mention about the Harley Topper.
That's what I was going to ask.
That didn't get brought up yet. One point that I wanted to mention is the engine. The Harley engine got its two-stroke technology as war reparations from World War II. It came from the German company DKW, and Harley adapted that for its engine for the Topper, which is why it was a two-stroke. And also, Emma, you mentioned the detuned model. That was the AU, and I'm not sure what the U stood for, but I have a feeling it stood for underwhelming. Because with 5 horsepower, you weren't going to go that fast.
Right. As soon as I saw it was the U.
Yeah.
Do you remember Rocky and Bullwinkle? Who was the moose?
That was Bullwinkle.
Bullwinkle. Yeah.
Do you remember his alma mater?
What's the matter?
What's the matter, you?
What's the matter, you?
Yes.
Good Lord, woman,
And
you
that's
take
the
me back.
first thing I saw when I saw Model U.
Yep.
To this day, anyone Russian I meet, I say you have to say musket, moose, and squirrel.
Yeah.
And I want to read a quote from a book, "Scooters, Red Eyes, and White Walls" by Colin Shattuck, who runs a scooter shop out in Colorado.
Okay, we're doing a deep dive now.
Yes.
My pipe.
To quote the book, he says, "Looking at a topper, one might have been tempted to store one's cheese inside of it. The topper looked like a refrigerator turned onto its side with a foam and vinyl seat, a boxy steel fender, and a bicycle-style handlebar. A rarity among scooters, its 165cc engine started with a rope like a lawnmower, and it had an automatic transmission like a Cushman or Salisbury. It was all American, slathered with lots of shiny paint and targeted towards children. The popularity of scooters was falling like a stone by the topper hit the streets, and kids might have seemed like the only consumers left buying them." And it was kind of unfortunate that the topper, that Harley took so long to come out with this bike, because the whole motor scooter market really started shrinking by the early 60s. And this has a lot to do, Emma, what you were saying with post-war Europe, because directly after the war, the resources were very, very meager, and people had to make do with what was available. So scooters as a very cheap mode of transportation were very appealing. But by the time 1960 came around, when the Topper was released, in Europe, scooter markets were already starting to decline, because people were, they'd been riding scooters for 15 years. They really wanted to graduate to cars and motorcycles. So the cars and motorcycles really started increasing in popularity dramatically in the early 60s, and scooters started declining. And in the United States, scooters were really more of a novelty. So just the timing was really not right for Harley to bring out the Topper, and sales were never very good, just because the appeal for a scooter in the American market wasn't as strong as it was in Europe, and just the desire for scooters was really waning at that time. So it was kind of doomed from the start, unfortunately. Plus the aesthetics of the bike. I was going to
say, I think design has something to do with it, because that whole design era, the whole mods,
yes,
it was all about design, about clothing, about aesthetics.
And Vespas and Lambrettas and other European scooters had really beautiful, nice, smooth, sort of flowing designs. And you look at a Harley Topper, and it looks like people just stuck crap on like whatever, wherever. And it's just like,
well, obviously, it was where you store your cheese.
Right. It's just like this boxy thing. And it had shiny paint, and, it was kind of, quirky, but it just wasn't that appealing. And, it was kind of a flop. So, unfortunately, they ended production in 1965 after only 5 years. So that was the end of the Topper.
And I wanted to add, because Bagel touched on it, that the original engine design was part of war reparations. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't the only bike that was part of war reparations.
Yeah.
And there was also the Hummer, the 125 Hummer, which was based on a German dispatch bike, and it was shared with England. And that became the BSA Bantam. And it was very, very interesting to see that the Hummer stayed as a 125 3-speed bike all its life, because that was true to the original design brief from, I believe it was also a DKW.
That's
Whereas
correct.
The BSA Bantam formed its own life, and yes, it was 125 for 3-speed for a long time. Then it became a 150, then it became a 175, and then it became a 4-speed. So, Britain developed that original engine their own way. And if you look at a DKW dispatch bike and a very early BSA Bantam and a Harley Davidson Hummer 125, it is obviously the same engine.
Yeah.
So that's what happened there. They divvied up war prizes.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I'll add, even though, you know, we've relegated to history, the Topper was reborn in 2007.
What?
Here's your trivia question. Yes.
What?
Liza, can you tell me, you should know this one. In 2007, the Topper shape was reborn, but by a Japanese company.
Yamaha.
Really?
So Yamaha 2007, what did they build that looked like the Topper?
It's that thing. It's out in my driveway right now.
It's in your driveway right now.
Oh,
The Yamaha C3.
The C3 looks way better than a Topper, though.
Yeah, but it's pretty much a new Topper.
Not way better.
Right? You throw a sidecar on it or an ice cream little bin, and it's
an igloo.
Topper, I'm telling
igloo
you.
cooler with wheels.
Basically, so if you want to access the Topper, you know, just go get yourself a fucking Yamaha C350 scooter, and you're good to go.
Funny. Well, there you go. I hope everyone learned a little something. I don't know if anyone's going to go run out there and go look for a Harley Topper just yet.
Harley Davidson Plopper.
If only we could see one on the ride on. You know?
Twisted Road? Twisted Road got one on there?
You never know.
I need to check that. Hey,
when they allow scooters.
You guys want to help some people?
See more.
No.
Depends who's asking.
Of course we do.
I got some emails to read. Bagel, I sent you one if you can get that queued up.
You did.
This one is from our friend Yoris. I hope it's yours.
Yours.
It says, hello from the chilly mid-Atlantic where heated socks and grips are coming in handy now. I'm hoping that the following topic deserves a dip into your tech tip handbag or maybe into your history hole.
Oh, I was worried
Speaking
about
of
that.
the season, when the weather turned cold last month, I noticed a slow coolant leak from the hose to water pump connection on my 08 Versus. He says, I tightened the hose clamp and all seems fine now. The clamp is a basic worm drive model, but it got me wondering whether that is the best fitting for the job. Does a worm drive clamp apply even pressure all around? If not, am I in danger of deforming the aluminum pipes on the pump if I tighten too much? So he says, I delved in a bit and found a page on McMaster-Carr's site that shows all sorts of hose clamps for soft hoses, vibration resistant, etc. I know that I've also seen spring steel band clamps on car radiator hoses. Is there any best practice for what clamp to use on a hose pipe combination that undergoes temperature changes? Kawasaki's parts diagram does show a worm drive clamp, although they charge $15 for it, which seems silly. At any rate, I would appreciate your advice, and if the history of the development of hose clamps is of any interest, that would be good to hear as well. Cheers from yours.
Okay, Yoris. Yes or no? So let's talk about hose clamps because they've been around forever. Yeah. The best ones, are English ones. They're made by a company called Jubilee.
Yes.
But
I've seen some of those displays. If you go to some of like the old automotive stores, I've seen a Jubilee display.
So on an aluminium part, it's not going to be a problem. However, let's talk about modern cars and to a certain extent modern bikes as well. And there has been this push in the automotive industry over the last 30 years or so to replace stuff that used to be made out of aluminium with plastic. Now, plastic is very much not as forgiving as aluminum. And it's very, very important that when you tighten a clamp on a plastic part, so if you've got a rubber hose going over a plastic spigot, you do an even amount of pressure and the right pressure. It's no coincidence that if you see a vehicle with plastic engine parts, usually they don't even have Jubilee or worm drive clips. They've usually got the clip type that destroy your fingers when you try and get them off.
Spring steel?
The spring steel. And the reason is the spring steel ones are better at distributing pressure all the way around. But more importantly, it's a very, you can't over tighten them.
But
because the tightness is governed by the springiness of the steel.
But what I've seen when I was working on the fuel system on the CX500 Turbo, it had the spring steel ones, and some of them, in removing them, had kind of stretched a bit.
Yeah, they can.
They were as tight. So I got new ones and put them on so that I kept it the same as opposed to going to the worm drive. But,
right.
Generally, that is interesting.
Yeah, generally the bigger they are, the better they hold their shape. It's very, very unusual, for the springy ones to be on fuel lines to be effective. On a 1-inch or a 2-inch pipe, it's a lot more effective. But not all hose clamps are created equal. And really the top of the range ones are actually, instead of a flat band, what's more likely with them is the edge of the band will actually dig into the rubber in very, very extreme cases. And if you look at a very, very high-end hose clamp, it's actually a very, very shallow U. And you'll see that the band part has just got sides that come up just a fraction of a millimeter just to give it a slightly less sharp edge to dig into the rubber.
I find that on the boots, car boots, on
there you go.
My vintage bikes. Yeah.
Yes. So there you go. So, hose clamps, I'll say the same to you as I say to a lot of people. Don't overthink it. If the worst thing you have to do is once in a while just take a screw to the screw clamps on a very, very cold day, because remember, you're talking about heat cycles of engines, you're talking about periods of many, many years. If you've just got to tweak them up, big deal.
So I will say that in general, I think that worm drive hose clamps are great because you are going to be able to get it taut. And with the exception, here's what I've learned. If you're getting hose clamps from automotive store, hardware store, they're usually going to be stainless steel band. But shocker, this will shock you all. If you buy one of those kits from Harbor Freight that comes with an assortment, that is a softer metal. And I have had those fail many times. So there is a difference just in worm drive, just to let you know. A good stainless one is, you can crank that thing down so tight, but some of the cheaper ones, just be careful, they can fail.
Yeah, they'll use pot metal on the worm drives instead.
Yeah, exactly. So good. So I hope that answers your question. I think in general a hose clamp is great if it is the right size. The only other time I've found it to not be perfect is if you're using the wrong size and you're trying to squeeze it down smaller than it's intended. And this is why they come in so many different sizes. Then it may take an oval shape.
Yep.
That's the difference. So good. I hope we answered that. Bagel, you got one there to read?
Yes, I have an email from Mike Olson. Mike says, "Hey there, Misfits. Moto Mike 805 down in the abyss of San Luis here."
Oh, down there. Hello, Moto Mike.
Wait, you need to do a San Luis accent.
I don't know how that is.
It sounds like Pazzo's Saloon.
Yeah.
Guys, you remember riding down there? Good Lord, we almost died. That San Luis kicked our ass on dirt bikes. Fuck.
Oh, God. No, Jim, don't call it San Luis. It drives the locals bananas. It's San Luis. San Luis.
Yep.
San Luis in my book. Stay home, kook, man. Stay home, kook.
Anyway, Mike writes, "I was one of the Patreon subscribers who got to hang out on episode 401 with you all.
Yes,
ooh, cool.
I asked about
on.
upgrading cams
Yeah.
while I was upgrading the tensioners. Oh my God. You'd thought I was trying to buy plutonium or smuggle heroin when trying to buy parts and get a tune after the upgrade. I finally found a dealer online who would sell me the cams with a signed affidavit swearing on my firstborn's life that the cams would go in a quote-unquote race bike only. I thought that would be the hardest part, but no! Then I tried to find a shop with a dyno that would tune the bike. The closest shop I found was in Fresno and had the same deal. Needed to sign an affidavit that it was a quote-unquote race bike and would not be riding on the streets. Also, the bike would have to be trailered into and out of the shop because, it's a quote unquote race bike.
Race bike.
Oh,
Nice.
God.
The nice part. The nice part was the shop flashes the ECM, so no tuner purchase required. The bad part, one-time $200 license fee to unlock the ECM, plus $500 to tune the bike. Up until now, I've always preferred fuel-injected bikes, but now I'm thinking this would have been much easier had my bike been carbureted.
Yeah.
Am I a fool for thinking this? Anyways, after much debate, I sent back the cams to the company, and they graciously sent me just the fuel and cam chain tensioner kit with the hydraulic cams, cam plate, and oil pump, as well as all gaskets, and issued me a full refund on the cam kit.
Good on them.
So what's your thoughts on EFI versus carbs for performance upgrades? Probably easier just to buy a sport bike if I wanted to go fast. Thanks for your advice, Misfits. Ride like everyone is a hired assassin trying to kill you. And that is advice that I have followed since the beginning of my riding career, Mike, and I absolutely support that.
Absolutely.
Right on.
My mom
can I start with this? Next time you're going to get some cam work done, go to Nevada. Just go east about 70 miles. Go to Nevada.
Oh, you nailed it, Jim. Having worked in Tennessee and Texas, all I heard was California, California, California.
Fucking California, son.
Yeah, such a bummer. It is so damn hard to get a part. I mean, I may or may not know someone that used to live in Texas and maybe may or not have fenced a couple of parts. But I mean, that sucks that you have to do that. And I'm talking, these were replacement parts, like fixing parts. These weren't go fast bump sticks and,
Wow.
It's pretty hard. Man, I feel really bad. I wish I would have known that or said something before he got into that whole downhill. Yes.
And I mean, the fact is, I love California. And there's many, many good things to living here. It's fantastic scenery. The riding's brilliant. I personally like the people
Nevada.
very much. But the downside is it's quite expensive. And if you want to tune up stuff, it is quite tough.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, because I won't mention any names, but we do have friends, hooligan racing comes to mind, that run bikes in California that are kind of race ready bikes that they ride on the street.
Right.
So there must be ways around, like carburation and exhaust and performance.
No, there's always
because
ways
there
around.
are no inspections in California. There's no inspections. There's no emissions for bikes in California. That's the thing.
I'm going to throw out a completely different suggestion here. And Mike, I hope I don't piss you off here, because here's the thing. I get the fun, the joy, the hobby, the sport of making your bike faster than others of the same model. I get it. But let me throw out an alternative option. Learn how to ride your bike faster. Maybe it's you, not the bike. Here's the thing, and we say this all the time. There are advanced riding classes. And I think if, like, what people are doing, like on the Harleys and doing the courses, like what Phil was doing, that is so fucking badass. That is better than making it, 15 horsepower more. I think learning how to ride your bike better is way cooler than enhancing the motor and making it louder or faster. I'm just throwing that out there as an alternative. If you want to be better than everyone else, become a better rider.
You could think of that as a performance upgrade that you would buy for all of your bikes, even.
Yeah, I'm just throwing that out as an alternative because everyone's like, they put their attention and their focus into like, I want to tune it up and I want to do this. I want to horsepower. Sometimes it's about the controller.
Right.
One of the things he said, did he say the EFI versus carb, trying to squeeze power? That was kind of one of the things too.
Yeah, this question was whether it's worth sticking with fuel injection with trying to do performance upgrades, or if it's better to use a carb bike for that because
as like
of
the platform
hassle.
or whatever. Yeah,
right.
To me, he nailed it too. He hit the wall, the California problem. Having worked in other states with performance shops and our own dyno, and watching some like fucking magic happen. Taking a stock bike and getting it to run like 8 degrees cooler because you just made it tuned better. I mean, come on, that's pretty cool stuff. And so in the fuel injection aspect of tuning, your options are more open. But just like anything else, I think the more options, the more problems. There's gonna be subpar tuners. There's gonna be bad dyno people. There's gonna be throw you left. Even though you have all these great options.
Right, but I think his concern was more the cost, because it costs $700 just to get the ECM upgraded, and he was thinking, $700, I could have just probably bought carbs for that price,
Go to Nevada. Go to Nevada. I swear to God, I hate to say it,
but Nevada and take a riding class.
Well, actually, I don't know. Actually, I don't know if that would help, because the $200 was the license to unlock the ECM, and that's going to be for any state, I would think.
In my experience, that goes with his VIN. So hang on to that. If he got that far, maybe he didn't, but if he did, they'll give you a thumb drive usually when you do that, at least if you use like a DynoJet product that I'm familiar with, and that's like your little code. So if like you punched out your bike to a little bit bigger of a motor and then you changed your exhaust completely later, you don't got to dip again for the 200. You're good. Like you can still party. You are going to have to pay that tech's time to do the thing. So that's what seemed like to me. He had a 200 and then like a $500 ding.
Right.
In that initial tuning session, I've seen dudes knock them out in half an hour and they're great. And I've seen dudes spend 2 days on them pulling their hair out. There's value in that too. That's some of that dark art magic motorcycle stuff. But it's just like carburetors too. To put them in comparison, that takes a lot of time. Pull the jet, do the run. Do you have a dyno? Are you able to do it inside? No, you got to go outside, pull the clutch, pull the plug, kill it, pull over. It's work.
Right, and you could do that for each jet in the range. And if you're paying somebody to do that, that could easily cost more than $500 to get that right.
Oh, if I am setting up a sport bike rack of carburetors from scratch, there had better be $1,000 on the table, because it is going to take me days.
Yeah,
I got one argument for the carburetor versus fuel injection: choke. That's it right there. To have a bike with no choke is awesome.
Oh, there's a lot of fuel injected bikes with chokes.
Really?
Oh,
it's automatic though, right?
Well, no, some and it's not really an enrichment. It's actually an idle up. My Goosey's got a choke.
His Harley's probably got an IAC in it, an idle control valve, just like a car.
Yeah.
And it sits in the throttle body and cracks open, a little piston comes. Mine went to shit, and my revs would start soaring to $4,000 while I was riding, which was really cool.
Yeah, they're gonna get plugged up with gummy stuff. But no, my Goosey's got an idle up. And most Ducatis do as well with fuel injection, and it just pushes the butterflies open a little bit on a cold start to get your idle up. So it's like a manual IAC.
I guess too, you're getting into computer controlled bikes, right? So at that point, it's going to be what temperature is it at? It's sniffing around. The little computer's doing
stuff. Exactly.
How hot are we? How long have we been running? What's our oil temp and pressures? That'll dictate stuff with fuel trims. But with the carburetor, it's nice to go like, it's cold as shit. Boop, here we go.
And, air-cooled bikes are much harder to fuel inject than water-cooled bikes. Much harder. Simply because the range of temperature between cold and hot engine is sort of light and day.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a liquid-cooled bike, basically, when your engine gets up to temperature, that's it. And it's the coolant and the thermostat's job to maintain it at, say, 210 degrees or whatever it's set. And it's within a 20 or 30 degree range from the coldest to the warmest. Air-cooled bikes go through this massive range. And to get them to actually cleanly burn fuel throughout all these temperature ranges, it's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
Well, our next email kind of covers the same topic a little bit. And this is from our good friend Patty in New Jersey. Hey, Patty, how are you?
Patty.
Hello, and Patty says, I've been so screwed up working the night shift at the hospital. I've been trying to catch up on the podcast. I wish I had caught on when you guys did the Ask Miss Emma podcast, since I have a specific question. So the good news is Patty recently got his up the butt bike. Woohoo!
Lucky Patty.
Super Duke GT. Oh, those are cool bikes, man.
Mm-hmm.
He says it's an incredible bike, but how much tech is too much? The bike sat for a long time and the exhaust butterfly went and took forever to get to the dealership. The bike goes into a limp mode, and I had to get it to the dealer. According to them, even if I do the oil changes myself, they have to check it out and turn off the maintenance check engine light.
Oh,
So
God.
where do you guys stand on the right to repair fight? Any history hole about that? Most European manufacturers seem to be going in that direction. And I think it sucks. And just as a further update, he wrote in at the beginning of COVID and stupidly took Knox advice. He went and picked up a bucket list bike, a 2002 RC51 for way cheap and mostly in boxes.
Oh my.
It's a project bike. He says, I have the final pieces to put it together and we'll be riding it this season. Even got a Nikki Hayden tank for it. So keep it up, ding dongs.
Bitchin'.
Thanks for keeping a night shift pediatric ICU RN sane on his commute.
Oh.
So
Yeah, big shout out and Nikki Hayden too. Right on. That's a really cool thing to be doing.
So
shout out to her.
What do you guys
have some quite strong opinions on this.
Right to repair?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you regard the ownership of a motorcycle as a complete experience, and a complete experience is the joy you get from riding it, the joy you get from showing it off to your friends, the joy you get from, just hanging out with it, and the dismay you get when you have to pay the bills. You've got to factor all of that in. And European manufacturers now are going to this service indicator that has to be turned off at the dealership. And I don't like it because it's basically, it costs money to get it turned off. Now, the dealership will argue that in order to keep the bike safe, there has to be checks made at service intervals. And it's a way of keeping the badly maintained bikes off the road. But I don't think that's their decision to make.
Yeah.
It smells like extortion. Am I allowed to say that?
It has got that. It's got that little whiff about it.
Yeah.
And I've always, whenever I was at
KTM
right
GT.
When I was back at Monterey Peninsula, I would turn off a Triumph service light for free. If anybody called up and said, "Hey man, I've just serviced my bike," and I'd say, "Well, what did you do? You change your oil, blah 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 blah," and it had come in. And I'd just do a cursory check over, just make sure the brake pads are okay and the thing's not falling apart, and do tire pressures, which I always did for free anyway. Yep. And I'd turn off the service light as a courtesy to the owner of that. But that's the exception as opposed to the rule. And the alternative was spending 2 or 3 hours on a service and charging them, $300, $400 for the service, and then turning the light out.
Now, is that a software setting, or does that require replacing a sensor?
No, it's just software setting.
Okay.
You actually have to go into the ECU of the bike and
so
override it.
Yeah, so you need the factory tools for that.
I know we call home when we do the Indian services. So you will tell that then that 5K was now completed at an authorized facility for blah, blah, blah.
And, the manufacturers now are actually cracking down on it.
They've got us charging batteries every night on record.
Yes.
Which VIN, so that there can't be a falsified battery claim in the next 12 to 24 months.
Well, and it's not just the falsified battery claim, is manufacturers are getting sick and tired of replacing new batteries, not through false claims, through dealers not maintaining them correctly.
Negligence, totally.
Negligence, and it's costing them a fortune. And, now, when I first started working on Triumphs, it's basically, you'd fill out the online thing for Triumph saying you'd service the bike.
Yeah.
Now you have to specifically answer questions. Did you change the oil? Did you change the oil filter? Did you check the brake pads?
Yeah.
Did you do this? And you have to tick.
What was the resting voltage to the 10th? Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
You tick them all off, and that is a legal document. And if there's any problem with the bike, Triumph will go back and look at that. Who was the last person to service the bike? What did they do to it? And, you know, if that's the direction that side of the industry is going in, I think you're kind of losing it a little bit.
Yeah, because that sounds like lawyers dictating how things work.
Yeah, but they are now, and that's it.
Well, it's part of the ownership. Emma said,
Yeah.
You love your bike, you hang out with it in the garage, tell it jokes and rub it. You know, so
I think it's just one of the downfalls. I mean, tech on a bike is cool, but one of the downfalls, well, it's giving you more performance, more safety, all the things. But one of the downsides is to protect their asses. They want the dealers to go in. But you know what? I'm also going to say, you know, as much as we help people work on bikes, work on our own bikes and all that, it's not the most horrible thing to keep supporting all the dealers with the labor on these bikes.
No, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world.
You're not throwing your money away. You're
But-
supporting your community.
I like the customers that work with your shop. You know, we like to joke the third mechanic or something, you know,
Right.
where it's you go ahead, take care of the juices and the fluids and the filters. And when you come in, I'm going to make sure your drive belt tension's appropriate, your shocks aren't leaking, your forks are good, and your brake pads. You know, we'll work together. But I learned that from a certain Emma somewhere. And it's a good approach to put some of the power on their side of the fence, but to also remind them we're also here for the weird stuff, the scary stuff, and the safety stuff.
Right, exactly. And, you know, your primary focus is always to keep your customers safe above all else. And as long as you keep that and you genuinely care about the welfare of your customers, you can't go wrong.
Absolutely.
There you go. Well, Emma, you know, we have somebody signed up to come to the garage next week. Yeah, just for people to know, we have reopened, but it is by appointment only now, so that we don't have too many people there. And we have another young person who just bought a old bike that they wanted gone through and checked.
KLR 650.
Exactly, for Shed. So I'm looking forward to helping him out. And as we're wrapping up, I just want to share something that makes me happy. This is completely not motorcycle related, but again, in this climate of COVID and politics and all the things, we need things that make us happy. And there's something that makes me so happy, and I just want to share it. This is a free plug. There's a website called Gold Belly, and you can go on there and order food from anywhere in the country. They've got all these restaurants signed up.
Old Belly.
And I have been buying lobster macaroni and cheese from Maine.
You've done it.
Wait,
so
Oh, multiple times.
what was the
you get the
grilled
real
cheese
deep
you
dish.
just got?
Oh, I just ordered lobster grilled cheese sandwiches. And here's the thing. It's ridiculously expensive.
Sure.
4 sandwiches with shipping. It's going to cost me about $35 a sandwich.
Is that your COVID money? That's that COVID
For
diet.
a sandwich. But there's something about eating ridiculously overpriced food that makes me so happy.
Oh, indulgence.
Now,
It's called
is this
indulgence.
gonna get to you in
Huh? Say that again.
How is this going to get to you from Maine?
Oh, it's shipped overnight in a
still
cooler.
being fresh?
That's the thing.
There's
it's
a
shipped
guy
overnight
riding
in
a
a cooler.
Harley Topper, and he sits on
How will this get to you from Maine?
Trust me. So I'm a big fan of whole
Rides all night.
clams, which
I
we
got a new
can't get.
business racket, Rick. We're going into business.
We can't get whole
This summer
clams
at the
here. When you get
boardwalk.
fried clams, it's just the
the bit.
little
yeah.
muscle. I love on the East Coast, you get the whole belly clams.
Yeah.
I've also been ordering whole belly clams sent to me, not frozen, fresh, and I go and fry them all up. Oh, just like East Coast. It's ridiculous. I know, but I'm just
Nothing wrong
sharing.
with that, Liza. at
Gold
all.
belly, it's just something that makes me happy. eating happy food. You can get ribs from Kansas City. You can get anything you want.
I've ride to eat from Portland to Monterey before on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Oh, bitching.
Just to get there. I bought a cupcake carrier at a Target. So I'm thinking me and Jim can get together. I mean, let's all do it. And we can fence a bunch of donuts into California from Oregon after the moto show in 2022.
And if anyone else wants to join the gang, we're going to give them a box of donuts and say they have to go from Portland to Laughlin in 8 hours.
Oh, God.
And actually, Rick, I can top that. Bagel and I have flown from Watsonville to Half Moon Bay for lunch and back.
Awesome.
True.
It's a 30-minute ride.
Fly to eat to fly.
We flew there for lunch and then flew back.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, it was nice. So anyway, I just wanted to give that plug because I think everyone could use something to just makes them happy. And for me, it's eating certain foods makes me
Fucking pie.
Oh shit!
Pie, towers, bowls, and sticks.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Let's stop talking about food. I'm hungry now. I want to go eat. What do you guys think? Should we wrap this up?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. So, hey, big thanks to everyone, especially our Patreon subscribers. You guys are the best. Hey, Emma.
Yes.
What do you think next week? Should we do another Patreon listener episode?
Yes.
Okay, it's a secret.
Nice.
I'll announce it.
Yeah,
last
well,
minute.
keep it a secret. It's just you and me.
Okay.
Just you and me, darling.
Don't tell anybody.
No.
Don't tell anyone. Don't tell them to keep checking Facebook.
Don't tell them to subscribe to Patreon before next week.
This thing.
As a way of thanking our
So
Patreon.
is that going to be the portal through the Book of Faces?
It might just be. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to our listeners, and thanks to Austin for coming on. I'm going to get on it, Jim. I'm going to make sure there are more bikes for us to choose in the Black Hills for when we go there, so we can go have some fun this summer.
I like it. And, I was going to go off on this little tangent, not to belabor the point, but you had another good idea, which I thought was, let's say there's somewhere you go and you vacation a few weeks or months a year.
Mhm.
You could buy an inexpensive dual sport,
Yeah.
leave it there with a friend, rent it out, that kind of thing. The reason we brought that up is you could buy one, leave it in Custer, go
Mhm.
out there every now and then, ride, but when it's not there, rent it. It's amazing.
That was my other plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might just buy one and leave it with my friend and list it on Twisted Road and split like the money with her, just for keeping it there.
Yeah, and if you
leave
can
it there when I need
register,
it.
if you can register
I think
it out there, it'd be a whole lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Like if you were Canadian, you could have a bike in San Diego, something like that, head to Mexico, come up here.
There's so many things. All right, I think we are ready to get out of here. Okay, you guys, I'll let you figure out how you do it. Thanks, everyone, for listening. This is Liza.
Bagel.
I'm a Rick.
My darling.
Naked Jim, son.
All right, and we are out of here.
Cool.
Cool.
I love how
I
you
saw
go
that-
out of order each time, Rick, and it just completely cripples everyone.
I just
No,
go
he-
last.
I know. Bagel goes first, Jim goes last. It's a toss up in between, and you're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna slide in here.
We got that kind of relationship, maybe.